Everyone, I hope everyone is having a good morning. Today I'll be reacting to a Costa Rica woman teases a crocodile and gets mauled instantly. Of course. If it were you, would you like get teased? Yes. The same way. Even the crocodile doesn't like get teased. Alright, let's get to it.
We're looking at the dumbest animal attacks, from a selfie with grizzly bear cubs in Yellowstone to mimicking a silverback gorilla in Uganda. But first, we start in Costa Rica, where teasing a crocodile for social media turned deadly. It was June 14th,
So, tease the
2019,
crocodile
along the muddy
on
banks
social media.
of the Tarcoles River in Punta Arenas province, Costa Rica. The river, notorious for its dense population of American crocodiles, winds through mangrove forests before emptying into the Pacific. Locals and tourists alike flock to the bridge above to watch the massive reptiles bask on sandbars below. Illegal feeding over the years had conditioned many of the crocodiles
Stop tease them.
to associate humans with food, making them bolder and more willing to approach the shoreline. The low water season had exposed more of the muddy banks, creating deceptive footing that appeared solid but was slick with algae and decomposing vegetation. Warning signs posted along the bridge and riverbank had faded from sun exposure, their messages barely legible. Sofia Rojas, a 25
So the Costa Rica woman is
5-year-old marketing assistant from San Jose, had driven down with her friend Carla Jimenez for a weekend getaway. Both women were drawn to the thrill of close wildlife encounters, often posting videos to social media. That afternoon, they hired Diego Vargas, a 47-year-old boatman known for his cautious nature and strict adherence to safety protocols. Diego had been ferrying tourists along the river for over a decade and had seen firsthand how dangerous the crocodiles could become when provoked. He warned the women repeatedly not to approach the water's edge or attempt to feed the animals. A park warden patrolling the bridge above also shouted down warnings, his stern voice carrying over the humid air. The repeated cautions hinted at the very real danger lurking just beneath the surface. Two other tourists sat quietly in the skiff, visibly uncomfortable with what was unfolding. Diego had even mentioned a recent incident where a crocodile had lunged at a fisherman who got too close. Sophia, however, was determined to capture something dramatic. She carried a plastic bag filled with fish scraps, intending to lure a crocodile close enough for a striking video. Carla encouraged her, phone in hand, ready to record. Diego idled the skiff a few meters offshore, shaking his head but saying nothing more. The midday heat pressed down as several crocodiles floated lazily near the surface, their eyes and nostrils barely visible above the waterline. American crocodiles are among the largest reptilian predators in the Western Hemisphere, capable of reaching lengths over 13 feet and weighing upwards of 880 pounds. Unlike their more aggressive cousins, they are generally wary of humans, but food conditioning erases that natural caution. They are ambush hunters, relying on explosive bursts of speed from a stationary position. Their jaws exert crushing force, and once they secure a grip, they employ a signature maneuver, the death roll, a violent rotational spin designed to disorient prey and tear flesh. In the Tarcoles River, these animals have become accustomed to boats and human presence, making them unpredictable and dangerous.
Well, the best time of day ever's finally over.
Dangerous. Sophia stepped onto the slick bank, her sandals sinking slightly into the algae-coated mud. She waved a fish scrap towards the water, laughing as a large
mistake. First, a fish.
crocodile began to angle toward her. The animal moved with eerie silence, only its eyes and the ridge of its snout breaking the surface. Sophia turned her back to the river for a moment, grinning at Carla and the camera. Her Her heel slipped on the wet surface. She windmilled her arms, struggling to regain balance. The crocodile exploded upward from the shallow shelf. Its jaws snapped shut around her lower left leg, just above the ankle. The bite was immediate and total, teeth
Good.
punching through skin, muscle, and compressing bone. Sophia was yanked off her feet and dragged backward into knee-deep water.
Good. You deserved it.
She tried to brace her free leg against the riverbed, but the crocodile was already in motion. It twisted its entire body in a rapid, forceful roll. Her knee dislocated with an audible pop as ligaments tore. The rotational force pulled her completely under the surface, and a cloud of silt erupted around them. The crocodile released briefly, repositioning for a better hold. It clamped down again, this time higher on her thigh. The teeth sank deep, severing the femoral artery. Blood darkened
The crocodile's trying to
the water in thick plumes. The animal dragged her toward a deeper channel, its powerful tail sweeping side to side. Sophia's head went under again. She could not surface. The crocodile maintained its grip, holding her submerged as she struggled. Her movements weakened. Water filled her lungs. The combination of catastrophic blood loss and drowning ended her life within minutes. The crocodile eventually released her body in the deeper current, where it drifted before snagging on submerged roots. Nearby crocodiles, drawn by the splashing and scent of blood, began to gather in the shallows. A common behavioral response in areas where multiple animals compete for food. Diego radioed for help immediately, but by the time authorities arrived, there was nothing to be done. Sophia's body was recovered later that afternoon. The park warden filed a report citing repeated safety violations and the dangers of feeding wildlife. Her family released a brief statement expressing their grief and urging others to respect wildlife boundaries. Local officials announced plans to increase patrols and remove habituated crocodiles from high-traffic areas. But Sofia Rojas was not the last to underestimate the power of wild predators. Thousands of miles north in Yellowstone National Park, Margaret Doyle would soon face a grizzly bear protecting her cubs. It was September 17th, 2018, near a roadside meadow in Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. The late summer sun cast long shadows across the golden grassland where wild berries still clung to low bushes, drawing wildlife out into the open. Cars lined the pullout along the main road, their occupants spilling onto the shoulder with cameras and phones raised. About 230 feet into the meadow, a grizzly sow and her two cubs foraged peacefully. The cubs tumbling over each other while their mother stripped berries from branches with practiced efficiency. Park rangers moved along the crowd, reminding visitors of the mandatory 100-yard distance rule for bears, but the excitement made compliance difficult. Margaret Doyle, a 39-year-old accountant from Ohio, had been traveling through the park with her companion Daniel Price, a 41-year-old software engineer. The two had planned the trip for months, eager to experience Yellowstone's wildlife. Daniel was cautious by nature, constantly checking park guidelines and urging Margaret to stay behind the low rope barrier that rangers had hastily strung between wooden posts. Ranger Lewis, a 31-year-old with 5 years of experience, patrolled the growing crowd with visible frustration. He repeated the distance rule multiple times, his tone growing sharper as people edged closer. A retired teacher in her early 60s stood near Margaret, mentioning casually that she had seen a sign earlier that morning, warning of recent bear
activity. Thank you.
activity in the area. The repeated warnings and the visible
Grizzlies do live
tension among park staff hinted at the volatility of the
also
situation, but the allure of a close-up photograph proved too strong for many. Margaret stepped past the rope barrier moving several meters into the meadow. She wanted a selfie with one of the cubs visible in the background. Daniel called after her, his voice tight with concern, but she waved him off. She lowered into a crouch to steady her phone, her back partially turned towards the sow. Grizzly bears are among the most formidable predators in North America, with adult females weighing between 290 and 400 pounds, and males often exceeding 600 pounds. Despite their size, they are capable of reaching speeds up to about 35 miles per hour in short bursts. Sows with cubs are especially dangerous, driven by an intense protective instinct. Any perceived threat to their young can trigger a defensive charge, and unlike bluff charges meant to intimidate, a committed attack involves devastating physical force. Their claws, measuring up to 10 centimeters, and powerful jaws can inflict catastrophic injuries within seconds. The sow lifted her head, nostrils flaring. She huffed once, a sharp exhalation that carried across the meadow. Then she charged. Her massive body closed the distance with terrifying speed, paws pounding the earth in a rhythmic thunder. The caiman surfaced briefly before submerging again. The air
That eats these two
It was thick with humidity and the calls of distant birds. The trail itself was barely wide enough for single-file walking, winding between towering trees, whose roots created natural barriers along the riverbank. Lorraine Foster, a 34-year-old wildlife photographer from Canada, had joined a small expedition led by Paulo, a 52-year-old guide with decades of experience navigating the Pantanal's dangers. Paulo was disciplined and observant, known for his ability to read animal behavior and keep his
Good. This man knows his stuff.
clients safe. That morning, he had noted fresh jaguar prints along the trail, large and deep, indicating a sizable male moving parallel to the river. The prints were less than an hour old, still sharp in the damp soil. He urged the group to stay together and avoid approaching the water's edge. Nina, a 29-year-old photographer traveling with Lorraine, kept to the protocol, maintaining her position within the group. A boat pilot in his late 40s waited at a bend downstream, growing impatient as the morning wore on. The time pressure nudged Lorraine to hurry, and when she spotted a capybara near the reeds, she made a decision that would prove fatal. Paulo had warned specifically about separating from the group in areas with fresh jaguar sign, noting that the cats often used the dense vegetation as ambush points. Lorraine stepped off the trail, moving closer to frame the shot. She knelt in the soft earth, her back to a wall of dense vegetation. The rest of the group continued.
You're done. You're done with.
Ahead, their voices fading. Paulo called back, reminding her to rejoin them.
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes.
Joined them, but she waved him off.
First, a croc.
Focused on her camera. The capybara she was photographing suddenly froze, its ears swiveling backward. Jaguars are the largest cats in the Americas, with males weighing between 200 and 265 pounds. Unlike other big cats that suffocate their prey, jaguars possess
Jaguars aim for the skull.
the strongest bite force relative to body size of any feline, capable of crushing skulls and piercing turtle shells. They are solitary ambush predators, relying on stealth and explosive power to close short distances. Their preferred method of killing involves a precise
Strike to the head.
sharks, drawing licensed operators
Surprise, great whites.
who offer cage diving experiences under strict safety protocols.
Safety protocol.
The sea was choppy that morning, with moderate visibility and long surface glare reflecting off the swells. A private vessel had anchored outside the designated operator zone, its owner eager to capture footage without the expense and restrictions of a licensed tour. The boat rocked gently as gulls circled overhead, drawn by the scent of chum being ladled into the water. Chad Morrison, a 29-year-old videographer from Melbourne,
That's gonna draw the.
had been invited aboard by Ben, a 33-year-old boat owner known for his brash attitude and willingness to cut corners. Ben had pushed for closer footage, dismissing the need for permits or proper safety equipment. A cage sat unused on the deck, deemed too cumbersome for the kind of shots Ben wanted. Ria, a 27-year-old deckhand with limited experience, had reminded them multiple times about the permit requirements and the dangers of entering the water without protection. Her cautious warnings went unheeded. A licensed operator on a nearby vessel had even radioed a warning, urging them to exit the water immediately and cease chumming. The ignored radio call foreshadowed the investigative approach
Even a specialist.
that great whites are known for when stimulated by scent and movement. Chad, however, was determined to get his footage. He entered the water on a trailing line, his fins dangling near the surface as the chum slick drifted away from the transom. Great white sharks are the ocean's most formidable apex predators, reaching lengths of up to 20 feet and weighing over 2 tons. They possess rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through flesh and bone, and their bite force can exceed 1.8 tons per square inch. Great whites rely on a combination of electroreception, acute smell, and vision to locate prey. When investigating potential food sources, they offer deep in the forests bordering Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in Uganda. Rose Carter would soon learn that mimicking the behavior of a silverback gorilla carries consequences far deadlier than she imagined. It was August 9th, 2016, along the forest edge near Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in southwestern Uganda. The area where dense montane forest meets community farmland has long been a zone of tension, with habituated guerrilla troops occasionally venturing out to forage on crops. Soft morning light filtered through the tall trees, illuminating the understory where a troop of mountain gorillas fed quietly.
Mountain gorillas. Makes sense.
On vegetation. The air was cool and still, carrying the earthy scent of damp soil and decaying leaves. Rose Carter, a 45-year-old charity volunteer from England, had arrived in Uganda 2 weeks earlier to work with a rural development organization. She had expressed interest in seeing the gorillas and was connected with Kato, a 36-year-old unlicensed guide who offered off-trail viewings at a fraction of the cost of official permits. Kato was opportunistic and evasive, dismissing concerns about safety and protocol in favor of profit. He led
Guys, I think that's all over. You don't want to see this.
and a small group, including Miriam, a 43-year-old